The weather conditions are changing in Oregon's favor, and we want to start with some good news here. Several Portland suburbs are no longer under any evacuation levels. As you can see on this map right here, Clackamas County dropped level 1 warnings for West Linn, Milwaukee, Wilsonville, Lake Oswego, Tualatin, Happy Valley, Clackamas, and Gladstone, as well as for some areas near Boring and Damascus. Now, this is a big relief for so many people in those cities. Oregon City and Canby do remain under a level 1, down from level 2 last night. It is important to note here that the level 3 boundaries in Clackamas County remain unchanged. And with that, let's start our coverage with KGW's Maggie Vespa. She's live for us in Colton, Oregon, which is in that level 3 territory. Maggie, you were in a press conference earlier with firefighters and authorities in the county. Lots of updates coming out of that.
Yeah, Brittany, 100%. We streamed that entire press conference on our Facebook page, on Twitter, on our website. It's about a half hour long and it's packed with information if people want to go watch it for themselves. I'll run through a couple of the big updates here. The first one that we want to highlight was containment levels. A lot of people on social media were really glad to hear about this. So I'll show you the list, some of the smaller fires here in the area. In particular, the Wilhoit fire and the Unger fire are both 100% contained. The Dowdy fire and Graves Road, which is a small one, it's just 45 acres. Those are both 20% contained. Again, that's new as of today. People commenting, like I said, a lot about that. Relieved to hear those updates. Of course, the big concern here is still the Riverside fire. It's at more than 133,000 acres, all in Clackamas County, and it's 0% contained. That said, firefighters are making progress. They moved from defensive mode to offensive overnight Friday into Saturday, and gaining control like that allowed them to downgrade some of those lower level evacuation zones. That said, level 3 unchanged. Level 3, of course, means leave now. And I asked today why those boundaries haven't moved. Firefighters said that boils down not so much to fire danger, but to infrastructure damage.
So we have to make sure the roadways are cleared. There are weakened trees. There's electrical wires down. There might be damaged structures out there and things that can be hazardous to the general public. You know, we're trained. We have professionals out there on the ground. I just got out of a meeting with some of the PGE folks talking about their infrastructure and stuff like that. And it would just be counterintuitive to send people back into their homes when there could be live electrical lines and things like that.
So firefighters are working on putting that risk in perspective, too. In fact, we were told today Clackamas Fire just began damage assessment in burned areas. And if you've been through areas impacted, you know that these fires can be really fickle, really hit or miss. We found this burned patch of land moments ago along Highway 213. But get this, that land is technically in the level 2 zone. In fact, Highway 213 is the dividing line in some parts between level 3 and level 2. A neighbor told us firefighters put that fire out quickly so it didn't spread, and he was obviously really grateful for that. Something else that was talked about today is the sort of suspicion and panic surrounding possible looters. The sheriff here in Clackamas County said over the last 2 days, deputies have responded to more than 330 calls. That's more than 4 times their norm. And they said the vast majority of those were around people who were afraid they were seeing looters on their property or on their neighbor's property. The sheriff said the vast majority of those calls turned out to be unfounded. No one was trying to loot anything. And he told a story about someone who was driving around with gas in the back of their truck, and deputies got a call about them. They finally caught up to the guy, and it turned out he was delivering gas to people he knew who needed that to run their generators. So, Brittany, the sheriff basically told us that he understands, as we all do, we all know this, that people are scared, there's a lot of panic out there, but he really implored people not to get sucked in by that and to kind of get caught up in conspiracy theories online. And he also reminded people deputies are patrolling these areas heavily to make sure they remain safe while people are evacuated. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Maggie, thank you so much. Great update. Well, we also have some good news on the Chehalem Mountain Bald Peak fire that's burning north of Newburgh in Washington County. All level 3 evacuation levels have been lifted. That means it is safe for people to return home. But that yellow area that you see on the map right there, that is still under a level 2 evacuation. So if you do go back home, you should still be prepared to leave again if conditions change. The fire is about 75% contained right now.
The air we're breathing right now is equivalent to smoking 20 packs of cigarettes. it is profound and consequential.
Hazardous air conditions stretch far beyond the flames all across the West Coast. California's governor there making a grim comparison when it comes to the impact it's having on our lung health. The smoke here in Oregon ranges from mostly from dangerous to hazardous. And let's take a look at some of the photos that you've been sending in. These are so helpful for us telling the story, especially about the air quality. This one right here, sun trying hard to break through the smoke up on Skyline. This other one taken from my front yard in Salem, and you can just see, I mean, right past that tire swing, the visibility just stops. How about this one? Springfield, Oregon, still like a smoke-covered mountain with no sunshine. And I have to say, I feel that same way. It feels like the night never ends, the day never starts because the sun is so blocked out from that smoke. And this one from Elizabeth in Vancouver, Washington, another backyard photo that we're seeing. Now, this air is more than eerie, which is really what we're seeing in so many of these photos. It's actually an extreme health concern. Area hospitals and clinics are seeing more and more people coming in with breathing issues and calling with questions. Kaiser Permanente Northwest pulmonologist Dr. Joshua Filner says we've seen air quality issues in the past with wildfire events, but this year it's off the scale. He says once the air gets this bad, it's not just an issue for people with underlying health conditions. People who are otherwise healthy are also at risk.
You know, here where we're in the 400 and 500 ranges, that's more where you again expect to see some normal people having some of those same problems, that chest tightness, dizziness, just feeling, fatigued, all those sorts of symptoms.
Dr. Filner says if you are experiencing any of those symptoms, start with a virtual appointment. However, if you can't catch your breath, having real trouble breathing, you need to seek emergency help. And for parents out there, you need to be extra mindful of your kids. Their lungs are still developing and are more susceptible to smoke, especially the really younger kids. Now, if they don't want to eat and are unusually sleepy or unresponsive, that's when it's time to get emergency help. And for those living on the street, 24-hour smoke shelters are still open at both the Convention Center and the Charles Jordan Community Center. Anyone who needs shelter should call 211 to see where space is available and arrange transportation. The Multnomah County Joint Office of Homeless Services is handing out thousands of KN95 masks throughout the county. They're also asking for donations, really needed right now. Those are things like blankets, tarps, sleeping bags, hygiene products, and other supplies. Well, crews on the Beachy Creek fire moved from evacuating people and protecting structures to trying to spread. Actually, we're going to switch gears right now and bring in Matt Zaffino because, Matt, we've been talking about these air quality issues. You can even just see in this live look behind me of Portland, it is dense out there. It's hard to be outside for even more than 5 minutes.
Yeah, it really is pretty nasty. So I'm going to go into this a little bit, the air quality index, and I'll show you what the current readings are, but also explain it. Oh, you okay? Explain it a little bit more, too, because what does it exactly mean? We all know the numbers. We all know the higher the number, the worse the air quality. But let me get into that for you just a bit as we look at what exactly that is. So here's that same shot. I just captured this graphic here a second ago about the air quality index. And basically, what the EPA and Oregon DOT and all the agencies do is they look at an average of 5 different pollutants. The 2 most important ones, especially right now, are particulate matter. That's the so-called PM 2.5. What that means is particulate matter, that's the PM. The 2.5 is microns. That is the diameter of the particle. So 2.5 microns or less is what they're measuring. They also measure ground level ozone. That's not a problem for us right now. And the reason we differentiate between ground level ozone and any other kind of ozone is that ground level ozone is a pollutant. That's Los Angeles has made that famous with its smog, and that forms when you have a lot of pollution like car exhaust mixing with very warm temperatures. You get ground level ozone, and that's a pollution. Upper level ozone, way up in the stratosphere, that's good. That helps protect us from the sun's rays, so that's a different thing. We don't want to deplete that. All right, so the other things they measure are carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen dioxide. Any of those 5 pollutants can make the air quality index spike. But in our case, it's all about the particulate matter, because when you're burning forests and everything else, you put a lot of particulate matter into the air. Now, what does PM 2.5 microns mean? It's 100 times thinner than a human hair. So we're talking about really small particles in terms of being able to see them, but you can certainly smell them, and your lungs absolutely react to them. And that's why it is such a problem around wildfire like this. So let's check the current air quality readings. That one green dot we have up in Vancouver, that's suspicious to me. I think what's happening is the levels are spiked so much that some of the sensors get tricked into thinking that, oh, it can't possibly be this bad. So you get a faulty reading. But you can see everywhere else in the Willamette Valley is in the hazardous category. And it's not just the Willamette Valley. It extends out through northeast Oregon, up through Spokane, the Idaho Panhandle, over into Montana, over towards Boise, and then, of course, south into California. It's no bueno there as well. Now, the other thing that's happening, too, and this is interesting only from a meteorological perspective, is that those little tiny particulates act as condensation nuclei for fog. So the smoke, if you will, is actually seeding the fog. When you get the moisture coming in with the marine air that moved in and seeped into the valleys a couple of days ago, well, you get the moisture, right? But now we've got all of these little condensation nuclei floating around with those little particles. So it's made a combination. What we have out there is a combination of normal fog, but also a lot of smoke. And the result is really bad visibility. It's only a quarter of a mile in McMinnville, Aurora, Salem, Hood River, Portland, Scappoose, Hillsborough, all about a half a mile. But it's really low humidity, and when it gets down below a half a mile, you need to slow down a bit for driving as well. So what's coming up? Well, you can see the smoke thins quite a bit, especially as we go into Tuesday morning. Some pretty good improvement at the coast and in the Cascades. The reason it's still thick along the I-5 corridor there, especially down around Eugene and Salem, is simply proximity to the source. The source, of course, being the fire. So they will continue to produce smoke. What we want to do is clear that smoke, of course, out of the area, and that's going to begin to happen in the upper levels. But I want to show you what that looks like in the lower levels right now, and for that we can look at the satellite imagery. Now, two things happening here. You can see those high clouds drifting on over. They're moving. There goes a brighter band. But look beneath that, and you can see there's just a gray footprint in the Willamette Valley. That's not moving. That's the smoke or the smoke fog mixture. We're getting some clouds coming over the top of it right now. That's an indication that we're picking up more wind flow aloft. That's a good thing. The upper level winds are really going to begin to, the upper level smoke is really going to begin to thin out as that weather system off the coast begins to roll on our way. So that's good. We're going to get circulation center down here moving closer to the coast. The problem with it is that it's been really fickle to forecast. It's not necessarily just going to bust on in. It's not riding a super strong jet stream. What these things tend to do is meander around off the coast. And if it stays far enough offshore, we get less wind, we get less ventilation, we get less clearing of the smoke. We want it to move close and move through. That'll eventually happen at the end of the week, but we will get some relief before the end of the week. Let me show you this forecast of the winds at about 5,000 feet over Portland, and they really spike upward tomorrow night, which is why we think things will really improve Monday night and Tuesday morning. Those winds slacken off a bit as we go into Wednesday, so we may see a return of some smoke at that time. But overall, things will begin to improve tomorrow. We'll have to contend with some smoke, I believe, on Wednesday. And then Thursday and Friday, we should see some more improvement as that upper level storm I've been telling you about and just described. I'll show you another image of that. As that begins to move inland, instead of just sending an impulse over us, the whole body of it is going to move inland Thursday and Friday. So two things with that. We'll get more rain. We will also get more wind aloft and get more scouring of this low elevation smoke out of the valleys, which is, of course, what many of us are waiting for. So here's what that looks like on our modeling. And you can see that circle, that white circle off the coast. That's the center of the storm system. Stays out there, sends a little bit of rain, impulse of rain over us tomorrow night and Tuesday. And then Wednesday it ends, the rain does. And then Thursday there's some more rain over us. And Friday we get more and some stronger winds, and that should really be the end of it. And then Saturday there's still a few showers left over. It may be Sunday a week from today before we have a day where we have a totally blue sky. Now that's not all bad news because we're going to get some clouds and we're going to get some rain as opposed to having smoke for another week. We won't have a week of smoke like we've had for the last 3 days, but it is going to be a gradual thinning. The rainfall forecast now, and this has been all over the map, it does increase it down in the Eugene area and in the Portland area compared to what it was showing us yesterday. If we can get a third of an inch of rain in Portland and nearly half an inch in Salem and more Eugene, that would really do a lot of good to help to squelch those fires. We'll have to wait and see exactly how that shapes up. But there is good news on the way again. We're going to see the smoke begin to thin. So outside right now, it is a cool 63 degrees with the low humidity that we have. I'm going to show you the headlines, then I'll show you the 7-day forecast for you. The headlines look like this. Here's what you can expect going forward in the short term. We're going to see the smoke thin after tonight. It's still going to be fairly thick tonight, but late tonight, tomorrow morning, it should begin to thin during the day tomorrow. Maybe a glimpse of sun or at least some clouds above. The air quality will improve tomorrow, and we'll get some rain as we go into Monday night and Tuesday. I'm not looking for a lot of rain east of the coast range. The coast will do better with the rainfall, so those coastal fires should get a good soaking over the next few days here. But again, we've got a dense smoke advisory now till 11 o'clock. We have the thinning smoke tomorrow, still in the upper 60s, which is warmer than we've been today. And the temperatures are interesting because when you see those warmer temperatures, that means we're breaking the inversion. Right now, it's all about the inversion and breaking the inversion. What's an inversion? Normally in the atmosphere, it gets cooler as you go higher in elevation, right? Well, an inversion is the inverse of that. It means the cold air is down low and it gets warmer above. The problem with that, it's a very, very stable pattern because cold air is more dense. When it's down low, it doesn't want to move. It's very happy to live there until something mixes it out. So right now, it's all about breaking the smoky inversion that we have over us. And I think with those warmer temperatures, that's an indication that that will happen. We may still have some patchy smoke around on Wednesday, but on Thursday, especially later Thursday and Friday, we'll get some pretty good rain, and over the weekend we're back in the mid-70s. By then, we should be totally done with the smoke, but we will see improvement beginning tomorrow night and on Tuesday. I just can't promise. I don't want to overpromise the clearing because this has been a very trying and taxing situation for a lot of people. But I think we will see some improvement Monday night and Tuesday. Wednesday, there'll be some smoke around, but I think we'll have warmer temperatures, get at least some sun before the rain sets in again on Thursday and Friday. And that is a good thing, too. So, Brittany, there you go. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We just have a lot of tunnel left to go.
Yeah,
back to you.
Quite a ways to go. And it is a really good point to make, too, that as we see these conditions improving, people should still really be keeping an eye on air quality because you don't want to have that false sense of security and maybe put your lungs at risk. Yeah,
exactly. And, you know, the point you were making in your story there, too, is about how damaging this particulate matter can be. And again, as I said, PM 2.5 particles, those are smaller, 100 times smaller than a human hair. So they're really tiny, but that's the problem. They go through, like a bandana is useless. That stuff's gonna go right through the weave of a bandana or a cloth mask. You really need a good solid mask to keep it out, and even then you can get air coming in on the sides. The best idea is to just avoid it altogether, try to stay inside, especially for people with respiratory. I mean, I felt it just in the few minutes I've been outside taking out the trash or whatever. You can kind of feel it getting scratchy in there. And yeah, it's not pleasant, it's not healthy, and it can have long-term effects. So you really want to just take it easy. I know it's hard to have patience. We've all had to be patient for like the last 6 months with COVID. Now we have to be patient with this in the short term. This will end way before COVID does. That's the good news, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Matt.